Welcome,
Thank you.
Linda.
Thank you, Antoinette.
Linda Ntuli is a motivational speaker, an author, and a life coach. I love that you're coaching people to life well.
Thank you.
I said it in one of my talks. Most of us are taught to church well, but not to life well.
Yep.
Right? So thank you for dedicating your life to teaching people how to life well.
Yep.
I'd love to get to know you very briefly, obviously, and especially how did you make your way into the life coaching space, particularly?
Thank you. Thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone. It's a great honor to be here. Number one, I grew up in Soweto in a township known as Mdeni. When I was growing up, I was selling coal. In the township, people called me all sorts of names, said I was a scumbag, will amount to nothing, I'm afraid of going to school. Little did they know that I was selling after school as well as during the weekends. People have a tendency of labeling us without knowing us. But I did science in my matric, so maths was my favorite subject. A lot of people have got challenges and problems with maths. Numbers are my thing. And
even geometry and trigonometry.
Let me tell you. Science, and I was the only one who was doing maths in higher grade, and only 5 were doing physical science in higher grade in my matric class.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, made it and went to university, studied electrical engineering. That is my biggest blunder. I didn't do it because I loved it. I did it because I was good in maths and science.
Okay.
And for me, the lesson there is that even if you are good at something, check if it's your passion.
Yeah.
So I completed my engineering qualifications, started working for Transnet. Second year working for Transnet, something deep within me said there was more to life than what I was doing. And I had to really search myself and really look for what I was born to do. I then studied sales and marketing management, didn't quit Transnet, had 4 different offers on my table after completing my diploma. And I left Transnet, joined Rotec Engineering, and I worked for other organizations. The last organization that I worked for was Afrox, and 1.5 years working for them, I was promoted into key accounts management. As a key accounts manager, I was really having great targets. And when we're talking blunders, there were no blunders there. The only biggest blunder was I was misplaced because I needed to just have people and interact with people, and hence I moved into life coaching and speaking as well, and training in terms of corporates and other organizations, and I also facilitate strategy and things like those. Thank you.
Wow. I love the honesty around mechanical engineering being your biggest blunder.
Yeah, electrical
engineering being your biggest blunder.
Yeah.
And you say that with your chest. And I think there's not a lot of people that would admit being in careers, being in professions, where they're probably really good at something, but they hate it.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with my baby sis yesterday, actually, and saying to it, entrepreneurship has its downsides, but one of the upsides is being able to wake up every morning and do what you love.
Yep.
And to do that with passion and to do that from a place of excellence. It is such an honor, and I think it's such an underrated honor, to be able to do that every day. And then for you to go from being a lover of maths and science, and it's Afrox, and you're just doing all of the things. I think what's interesting for me is you saying that you had to take a step back to find what moves your soul. Now, what was the process of you discovering what moved your soul? I hear you are moving into sales and marketing,
Yeah.
but you skipped over a little bit. How did you go about finding what moved your soul?
It was not as easy, but you ask yourself questions, and questions like, am I really serving my purpose on earth? Am I doing what I love to do? Because from time to time, when you are in engineering, you do projects. And for instance, I was involved in the layout of the blue train because I was working at Transnet, and I was the only darkie at the time in that project. I remember we were at School Sport, and people had to leave addressing meetings in Afrikaans and switch to English because of my presence. And I'm thankful that my mentor at the time, Yapi Greiner, was on my side, and he said, this guy is from Soweto, he doesn't know Afrikaans, let's conduct our meetings in English. So those things were some of the triggers to say, where are you? How can you make more impact, And I knew that with people, this is it. And thanks to God that I really found my passion. A lot of people live their lives without really discovering what they were born for. Others only discover when they are in their deathbeds, and others they discover that when they are old and they cannot be flexible anymore. So I'm really thankful that I'm doing what I love to do. And I've got a lot of support around me. I mean, people like Simpiwe, we met years ago and we connected, And I'm thankful to God to see how when people find their passion, they change their lives.
Yeah, it truly is life-changing. It really is. I think probably one of the best gifts that any human being can give themselves is to find what moves your soul and to wake up every day doing that, right? So when it comes to life coaching, and this is a little bit of a, I think, deep question, but when it comes to life coaching, what's possibly one of the major things that you see, whether it's with professionals, whether it's with founders, that contributes to blunders? What is one of the biggest issues that, especially us as Black people, right? What is one of the big issues that you think we have to get over in order to become exponentially successful, not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come?
Thank you so much. I think that's a great question. I think number one, it's doubt. People have a lot of self-doubt. And when a person has got self-doubt, it takes a lot to assist them to really see how great they are. So the opposite of that, I would say, it's courage. People need to have more courage and be willing to risk. I mean, Titi was saying that we met in 2009, and he reminded me, and I could remember the time. But let me tell you, not long after, he took the risk and he's running his own business right now. A lot of people, even when they've heard things that are pertaining their destinies, they still have doubts to say, hey, Mar, I really want to do this, but I don't think I will have the support. And for me, it's important to know that when you were created, there was a plan for you. And because there was a plan for you, move with boldness and know that even if you meet stumbling blocks, they are part of the process. And a lot of people then are afraid to fail. And failing is part of the recipe. I mean, if you ask me how many times I've failed, I will tell you. But here's the reality. When COVID hit, we had a 4-year contract with BP South Africa. And guess what? We got a letter from BP South Africa that said, because of COVID, we suspend training with immediate effect.
Sure.
Now, this was a very good contract. But guess what? We're still living and we're still doing business. What am I saying? Even if what you are doing is not working, it doesn't mean that life is not working. It's what you are doing that is not working. So learn from it.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. So let's dive a little bit deeper
Sure.
into that self-doubt.
Sure.
So when you're working with clients and you see that self-doubt is the barrier to scale their business exponentially or to move up in that career, on that career ladder, if they're a professional, how do you help them meander around that? What is one of the key things that you help them get over?
Thank you so much. I think one of the things that I do is to tell my story. It's easy to gravitate towards someone who has been where you are. And it's easy for you to see solutions. I'll give you an example. There's a young man who's in this room right now.
Yeah.
He asked me, I won't show you the young man.
Okay.
He asked me that I want us to take this mentoring thing serious. I said, come, I've got a session on Wednesday, I've got another one tomorrow. He's here to see, because when you see it live, it becomes easy for you to ask relevant questions. Sometimes we ask questions because we see the car that the person is driving, but it's not about the car. It's about the process. And for me, the process is more important than what the eye can see. So I always tell people the story, and then I give them practical examples on how to deal with their situations. Because there is no situation under earth that is a new situation.
Yeah.
The only problem is we take time to make decisions. And here's the statement: if you don't prepare, you'll have to repair. Preparing is cheap, but repairing is costly.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Yes. And I think it's important for us as Africans to come back to who we are. We are pretty powerful.
Sure.
I think power, royalty, success is written in our DNA. So I'm going to be Rafiki in The Lion King here for a second, who took Simba to the river and showed him himself and said, remember who you are.
Yep.
And so we don't have to walk around with self-doubt. I think that's probably still a remnant of apartheid, especially for South Africans. But we have to meander in and around that and make our way through it so that we can get back to who we are. Why do you think the British and whoever else, those Dutch people sat in a boardroom and architect apartheid? It's because they saw who we are. And so I think it's time as Africans that we return and make our way home to who we are truly, deeply and fundamentally. And also to stop subscribing to a Western way of doing it. I think we have to rewrite the blueprint around life, around business, and unplug from the Western matrix and create our own, because we can. And I think that can change the world. Okay, so I'm gonna leave myself there. Linda, any parting words for our audience?
Okay. Thank you so much. I think my parting word would be, like Vina has done it to put us together in this room and say, let us network. Let us truly network. And for me, networking is to ensuring that whatever we do will benefit others in the process. I think for the longest of time, as Black people, we've been living for ourselves and we forgot to empower other people to be better than us. If you can help one person to be better than you have done a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much, Linda.